Well, good morning. It is almost 9 o'clock here on Tuesday morning. We have put out as a church an announcement in written form, but I wanted to put together a quick video, especially because we're not going to be seeing each other as usual. So I wanted to pass along the information that's in that announcement to you as our church family. And also wanted to say a couple additional things. First, I want to say that I missed all of you. I missed seeing you on Sunday and worshiping with you. That was a tough decision for us to make, to cancel worship service, but we felt like it was the best thing to do and are still confident that that was the best thing to do. But nevertheless, it was weird to get up on Sunday morning and know that I wasn't going to be bringing my family to this church building and seeing all of you. Kristen and Brady were out of town, but I sat down with the boys and Avery in our living room at 10 a.m. on Sunday, just like when we would meet, and we opened the Bible, we read the Word, we prayed together, and we sang, and it was good. It was a sweet time. But it would have been even better if we would have been together and then together with all of you. But that's just not the case right now, and unfortunately, it looks like that is going to be the deal for a while. So here's the thing: I met with the elders last night, Jeff and Greg, and we looked at all the information that we have. We looked at the recommendations and guidelines that are being put out by various levels of government, and then we prayerfully thought about what would be the best thing for us to do as a church. So effective immediately through March 31st at this point, we are canceling all services and meetings that are held here at Veritas Church. And that, of course, includes our Sunday morning worship service. We'll give another update towards the end of March because I'm sure the situation is going to change and develop. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets extended out even longer. But at this point, it is clear to us that it would be wise to not meet these next couple of weeks. So we are canceling those services as well. I know that a lot of you attend various Bible studies or prayer meetings. If you're going to do that, and you may want to think twice about that, but if you are going to do that, we really want to point you towards these guidelines that are being given out, and we put the links in the announcement that we published. But Placer County Health and Human Services, California Department of Public Health, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the White House's Coronavirus Task Force, they're all basically saying the same thing, though the CDC is pushing it out 8 weeks, whereas the other, it's at least a couple weeks. Follow those guidelines. Read those and follow those guidelines. Most of us, myself especially, I'm not a medical expert. I'm certainly not a contagion expert. But the experts are telling us that this is very serious, and we need to do our part to help slow down the spread of this virus. So this is a very practical way for us to love our neighbor. There are things that we're giving up. We're not being told to give them up yet, but we are being asked to give some of these things up. And as you know and I know, getting together on Sunday morning to worship, that is maybe the greatest blessing and privilege that we have as Christians. And that is something that we are temporarily, that we are giving up. And we're giving that up out of love for our neighbor. I'll give you an idea in a few minutes, or a couple minutes, of some things that we'll do in the meantime. But I just want to encourage you to still keep those guidelines in mind and to follow them. I want to, before I say anything else too, just give a word of encouragement, because this situation is going to affect people in our church family in all different sorts of ways. Some of you may lose your job. Some of you may go weeks without pay at your job. Some of you are going to deal with a lot of worry and a lot of anxiety. Some of you might get the coronavirus, or you're going to know someone in your family, someone close to you. It's going to happen. And so it is going to be at least a challenging few weeks for us, probably a challenging set of months. And so we need to remember something. And that is what we're told in Psalm 121. The psalmist writes, "I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth." Our hope is in God. Our refuge is in God. And now, maybe more than ever, we need to look to him. He will not let your foot be moved. He who keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade on your right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore. Listen, we don't exactly know what the future holds, not the immediate future, but we do know it's going to be okay. Ultimately, it is going to be okay, and God is going to be with us, and God is going to help us. Now, in light of that, we can turn toward one another, and we can help one another. So let me just give you a few ideas. These are ways that we're going to look to stay connected as a church for as long as we need to do this. Number one, first, take full advantage of technology and social media. I mean, we have ways that we can connect and stay connected that would have been impossible just 20 years ago. So use these means to reach out to one another and to encourage one another. Second, as you continue to worship by yourself or with your family on Sundays, listen to the sermons that we're going to be posting. We're going to be putting up a sermon, and we're going to be putting up resources. Use those in your personal worship and your worship with your family, and then talk to one another. Again, using technology, using social media, talk to one another about the implications of what we're studying together as a church. Third, you can look for regular video devotions that are going to be posted by our pastors. And we're doing that so that we can somehow, some way, continue to have some kind of face-to-face communication and connection with all of you. And then finally, most importantly, pray for one another. We've got to be praying for one another. If you go to CCB, and I know some of you don't like going to CCB, but if you can get in there, go to the Veritas Church members group. Once you're there, click on participants, and you can see the whole list of our members. I encourage you to pray for them. Think about them. Pray for them. If you know them, reach out to them. Especially as you read through that list, those who would fall into the category of being more at risk than others. Pray for them. Reach out to them. Remember, what's happening right now is not persecution. We're not being persecuted as Christians. We're not being targeted as a church. We are not being called to cancel our meetings because we are worshipers of God. We're being called to cancel our meetings because we're human beings, and we could very easily spread this virus. And maybe you don't care about getting it yourself, but what about getting it and then unintentionally passing it on to someone else and being a part of the rapid spread of COVID-19? So again, we're taking a step back and evaluating the situation and saying, God, you are in control. This is where we're at. We think it would be wise and prudent to limit our physical interaction with one another as a church. But we are still a church. and we will make it through this. So let us use these means that God has given us to still talk to one another, encourage one another, connect with one another, and pray with one another. If you've got any concerns, if you've got any questions, as best we can, your pastors, we are here for you. Please pass those along, and we're going to continue, you can know, to be praying for all of you daily.